Thank you.
Thank you. The BDF band will lead us with National Anthem. May be seated. We are now going to welcome Member Muchabo this side for the opening prayer. Mrs. Khalifeli Muchabo for the opening prayer.
Allow me to humble myself before all dignitaries and say all protocol observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we bow our heads before our Creator this morning? Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, we acknowledge your presence in our midst this morning. We thank you for the STEM festival, O Lord. We thank you that, Lord, you protected each and every participant who is here. And Father, as we commence the proceedings, we invite your leadership, your guidance, and we invite your blessings upon us, O God. We pray for each and every activity, each and every event that forms part of this STEM festival, Lord. We pray that you will lead us in the way that will bring fruits unto our nation, in the mighty name of Jesus. Father God, we just want to pray for oneness and wisdom, because you are the giver of wisdom in all these things. Father, we thank you. May your presence prevail. May you lead us. May you speak through all these speakers this morning. And Father, as we are here, we humble ourselves to acknowledge that you are God. And without you, we cannot do anything. And without you, we wouldn't be where we are. Thank you, Father, as you speak through us in Jesus' mighty name. We honor you and we lift your name up high in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Mama Chabo. At this juncture, I'm going to call upon
the Assistant District Commissioner, Mayor Tsepiso Lepo, to come to the podium and introduce our guests. As she makes her way to the podium, I'm going to allow our BDF band, who we thank for the piece this morning, to make their way to their next station. Thank you. I will ask that we give them a moment. Thank you.
Dumelang botsadi. Tla ke tsene sebaka se go re itse ba e botlhe ba rena le bona. Mme ke simollela ka go itse gore mo magareng ga rona re na le Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, also a Member of Parliament for Palapye constituency, Honorable Israel Master Hoya.
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Renali, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, and member, sorry for the member, Dr. Kepane Baipuledi. Ke boe ke supe gore re na le Professor o tlogetse Totolo, Vice Chancellor BIUST. Ke boe ke supe gore re na le Kgosi Ramafraga. Mme ga no se re na le bokgosi ba bangwe ba tswa mo kgaolong ya rona ya rona ya Pala. Ke boe ke supe gore re na le the Deputy Commander Botswana Defence Force, Major General G. Morake. Re na le BIUST Deputy Chairman, Dr. Happy Fizani. Mme ga no se re na le BIUST Council members. Re ka ema ka dinao ha re leng teng. Re na le Mr. Edwin Elias, Head of Processing, the Botswana and also guest speaker. Re na le BIUST Deputy Vice Chancellor, Deans and Directors. Re na le Retebogo Mogalimang, Founder and Technical Director, Spectrum, Analytic and also lead presenter. Ke supe gore re na le molaodi wa kgaolo e mo re mo go yone ya le gare, Rre Pitsi Mathumo. Renali visiting vice chancellors from sister institutions. Ke boe ke supe gore re na le Central District Chairman Re Peter Williams magareng ga rona. Mme ga nosi o na le makhanselara o tlhegela a kgaolo ya rona e re leng mo go yone. Re ka ema ka dinao ha re leng teng. Re na le all chief executive officers and captains of the industry. Ha re leng teng re ka tsholetsa mabogo. Re na le government directors and heads of department. Magareng ga rona le gone ha re leng teng re ka tsholetsa mabogo gore re bonale. Mme go bohelelong betso re na le our fourth estate, the media team ka go harologana go ba tswang teng. Re na le our exhibitors and presenters, the youth staff and students. Me nna yo ke hano ke bidwa Metshepiso Lepo go tswa mo ofising ya ga molaodi mo Palapye. Ke a leboga motsamaisi.
Melepo re a leboga. Can I call upon the Vice Chancellor to give us the welcome remarks? BC.
The Director of Ceremony, Honorable Minister Moisraele Masterhoya, Assistant Minister of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, and our Member of Parliament for Palapye, Dr. Gekhone Baipoledi, who is the Deputy Permanent Secretary in our Ministry of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, BIUST Council members, Kosi Michael Mafuraga, Mr. Edwin Elias, who is our guest speaker for this morning, and also the head of processing at Botswana, Deputy Vice Chancellors who are here this morning, and Deans and Directors, Mr. Tebogo Mogale-Mang, the Founder and Technical Director, Spectrum Analytics, and also Lead Presenter, Mr. Rapiti Matumo, the District Commissioner for the Central District, fellow Vice Chancellors who are here from sister institutions, Chief Executive Officers and Captains of Industry, General Morake and the BDF officers here this morning, all government directors and heads of departments, honorable councillors from Palapye Administrative Authority, the media fraternity, all exhibitors and presenters, BIUST staff and students. I want to give a special recognition to the Student Representative Council, led by His Excellency, the President, Mr. Tsokolo Dick, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor to be standing here today to welcome you to the 5th STEM Festival and to the 2nd Research and Innovation Symposium here at BIUST. Today, we are gathered here to witness yet another milestone in our shared journey of science, engineering, and technology and mathematics in partnership with the research and Innovation Symposium. BIUST is a research-intensive university and the only specialized higher learning institution in our country. Today's platform is intended to be the gateway to the much desired goal of engagement for development. Hence the presence of so many stakeholders who are here on invitation. This is in line with our vision to be a premier research-based University of Science, Engineering and Technology, internationally recognized for the quality and excellence of its teaching and learning, research and innovation and engagement. We cannot exist as a university on our own. We need to be here for a purpose. And the purpose for us as BIUST is to be truly connected to the people who have sacrificed their lives to contribute to what we are today. And I'm talking about you as taxpayers. I'm talking to you as parents. There is an expectation that because there is an investment in what we have done here at Palapye, at BIUST, truly there has to be a return on investment. And the return on investment has to be a good things that have to come out of this institution, products and services that have to change the lives of ordinary Botswana wherever they are. BIUST has to be felt not only in Palapye, but in Box Spades, in Khanzi, in Karakubis, in many other places far afield from where we are located. We are a national university. Of course, truly, because we are in the hinterland of Palapye, the impact and engagement should be more intense around Palapye. I want to hear stories about how we impact the young people in Lutsani, at Maboho, at Kurumela, and many other institutions in this lovely place on the foothills of Malikokopu. Remo Malikokopu Barets. Agere Remafra. Thank you, Mama. I wish to particularly note that this week is dedicated to celebrating STEM as a solution to everyday life, be at local, regional, and international level. On the same breath, we highlight research and innovations, a uniqueness, and in-depth inquiry into issues that require solutions to challenges facing humanity's communities in the fourth industrial revolution. We cannot just be here in a very privileged position and we live in our own cuckoo land, or we live in our own pedestal without any connection to the communities. We need to understand what the communities are dealing with on a daily basis, and because we have the knowledge, research, and development skills, come up with solutions on the real issues that our people are facing. Director of Ceremonies, this year a decision to combine both STEM and race as a multidisciplinary function was taken not only for efficiency, effectiveness, and value for money, but to ensure that we get the best in sharing experiences and skills of key industry players here present from countries as far afield as Austria, Kenya, South Africa, the United States of America, Oman, Zimbabwe, Zambia, whom I heartily welcome to BIUST in Palapye. At BIUST, we are highly privileged as we occupy a piece of land worth 2,500 hectares and have a student base of more than 2,000, all housed on campus and proud that 2% of our staff are drawn from the international community, whom we will also be showcasing the products and research skills and experiences here today. In terms of development, we look forward to the delivery of 5 major infrastructural projects during NDP 11 aimed at developing the university to international status. These infrastructural developments, through the support of our government, will include the library, the cafeteria, the student center, and the multi-purpose hall worth millions of dollars. I want to pause here and recognize the contribution made by the community of Palapye in the acquisition of this huge piece of land, 2,500 hectares of land. Please, can we applaud? Can we applaud the Palapye community? It was through their sacrifice. I've heard a little bit of history that where we are seated, men and women had to come here and ask for permission from Badimo for renne hamo Palapye. And borre hoya o mogolwane senyomunyi olo monang le borrentebele ne batla ha batla go ratela bosio o kopa Badimo gore ba re letlelle gore renne mo lehatsheng le lentle le le tlhatlogetseng ga godimo le o ka reng ebile re tla o hele Ramasedi mme re bosigo e be re bona dinaledi tse dintle ko motseng wa Palapye. So once again, thank you very much the Palapye community. Le bagolo ba ke ba mention mo re khoya le bo rentebele le bo re maforaga le bo re olibile o bo le lo tlhebetso re be re le mo le hatsin le lentle le ja ka lo re bona botlhe batho ba BIUST ba phatsima me ba phatsimiswa ke gore ba amogetse mpho entle ye go tswa Palapye. Thank you very much. I am very grateful and honored to host this multidisciplinary event where researchers and innovators will showcase their latest achievements in research and technology while subjected to a panel of judges who will share the results with us this week. The Joint STEM Festival and Rise has also attracted several teachers and 120 pre-university students under one roof to benchmark from the new RISE modalities such as inquiry-based learning towards problem-based learning. Through this festival and the symposium, the university seeks to deepen its commitment and strengthen its core mission of research and innovation as well as application. As the Vice Chancellor of BIUST, I've challenged my colleagues that we have to be interested in what is happening in schools for a very simple reason. If we admit young people from high schools or senior schools, and the first week Professor Lungu as a professor of mathematics is always lamenting bana ba ka ba itse dipalo. He's always lamenting are bana ka ba itse dipalo. Ya ke mara ke re tota ha bana ba sa itse dipalo. What do you do to make sure that they're up to speed when they are in schools? You cannot just complain when they are within our precinct. We must make it our business that we get to know what is happening in schools, in pre-primary, in primary, and in secondary school, so that we can influence the curriculum in schools. We can also contribute to how these young people are taught in schools. so that by the time they graduate and they come to BIUST, we are happy with our preparation and we will never complain for a totavanavakai. They don't come from Mars, do they? Keva navaro na ritu kwa tuanting retsanezore retsenyere kore barujua jamodikolo, so that they are a good material for university education, and as they appear at our doors, we ululate, we smile, because we know that we have had an impact, we have made a contribution on how they are prepared in schools. So the message is very clear, and I'm very happy that my colleagues have embraced that idea and they go into schools. I was the other day at Mokokwanamoseu. Those who know this area, I was at Mokokwanamoseu. There are two villages, there are just one village, but all the time you must say Mokokwana Mosui. Because this side is Mokokwana, the other side is Mosui. And the primary straddles that border. This side Ekaha Mokokwana, on the other side is at Mosui. So it is Mokokwana Mosui. And I was so impressed with the young primary schools kids sitting behind the machines, doing all kinds of calculations and graphs and presentation of the results. Talking about Masana 3, 4, 5, doing all these wonderful things. And it is because of BIUST. Our lecturers, our students, our technicians go into schools and teach all these people an example being Mokokwanamoseu, to change the way they do things. I also had an occasion to talk to the teachers. They said the laborious task of entering marks and looking for a calculator, if they have one, to calculate the Marakata or working number 1 up to number 40, is all gone. They can now do that in 5 minutes because of what BIUST is teaching them. And finally, BIUST is out there in all the rural areas and towns in this country to demystify science. Rona, when you grew up, know what the science is, what the method tata, refeida. Method of it's amazing when you are told that something is so difficult. It becomes difficult for you. So our people are going around to demystify science, to say on everyday basis, as I speak, I am just doing science. As I move my hands, it's all science. As I eat, it's all science. As I drink water, it's all science. So science actually is fun. It's so exciting. And I'm happy. And I'm happy this morning. I want to especially recognize General Morake and Releko Pesky together some years ago. The General Moko Vinerimita Moksota Insurala Rest. These are leaders in the army now, but we were boys together some years ago and in the world of science, and they continue leading the nation in the world of science because the army is all about science, and I'm very grateful with that. Through this event, we'll be celebrating 4 major tracks in the following focus area: life sciences, environment and physics, chemistry, material science and energy, infrastructure, geology and mining, computing, electrical and industries. For STEM, the focus areas are educating STEM entrepreneurs, policy formulation and implementation inclusive of STEM, linking academies with industry, STEM development for sustainability and innovation, and information exchange towards economic transformation. The BIUST corporate culture of engagement for development is celebrated with our special guests from countries coming from as far as Austria, Mauritius, Uganda, Germany, Kenya, South Africa, Oman, Zimbabwe, USA, we are also pleased to know that the government of Botswana, our common principal, blessed this event with a representation of the Honorable Assistant Minister of Mode, Master Moiserael, who has an unwavering support for BIUST, and I'm very grateful, sir, that you are always with us. May God bless you. I want to conclude by emphasizing our mutual desire to push the boundaries of research and innovation and its application to the fullest lengths. Thus, work tirelessly in ensuring that we achieve that which our people expect from the multidisciplinary event. With these remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you warmly to BIUST.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Palapye Voices will be giving us a short musical interlude in a short while. Can I ask them that they should get ready? Dr. Haniso Motlabane, the Director of Pre-University Academic Programs, may you please come on stage to give us the overview of the STEM Festival Research and Innovation Symposium. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Morning. Let me say protocol observed. I'm tempted to give the Vice Chancellor a vote of thanks prematurely. Someone is going to give the vote of thanks, but really I'm tempted to say thank you so much for ably explaining what this event is about. It makes me a bit redundant in that I was going to try and explain what this event is about. But nonetheless, I will highlight a few points here, really highlighting on what he has already said. That BIUST has 4 pillars, and that in its strategic plan, it wants to hold on. And one of those pillars is the engagement for development, which is what he has explained so well. And engagement for development really puts BIUST, or gives BIUST a burden. And that burden is a burden of responsibility for the society that we are in. And that society is Palapye, the whole Botswana, and even beyond Botswana. That with this concentration of experts that we are having here at BIUST, they should be seen to be given back. And they are doing that very well, Prof. And in many ways through their researches, through their teaching, and through engaging the public out there. The reason why we are here gathered today is to say or to witness some of the things that BIUST is doing, how it relates with the community out there. What you are going to be seeing, it's not necessarily what's done by BIUST here, but the STEM that is in our everyday life, in the industries, as they apply the science, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics out there. But we especially say it's important to highlight the fact that STEM, it's not in the books, it's everywhere, and it is in our places. This is why here we have very important industries, and there are 3 industries that are among many others that I would really want to highlight here, their presence, because they're so involved and they're so dedicated in dealing with, or in working with BIUST. We have our, what they call our diamond sponsor, Depswana. I'm not going to say how much and how they've helped us. I don't know, maybe it's a secret, I'll just keep it there. But they are really our diamond sponsor. Depswana was so and they have a team that's also going to be, I haven't seen their stall yet, but I hear they're here. We will also have another very, very important sponsor here, which is Stanbic. Stanbic, well, when we grew up, we thought banks were just for money. But now they understand that there's maths, there's physics, there's everything there. They can explain better how they value STEM. But when we were talking to them, there was, head over heels about it and they were expressing to us how they see the utility of STEM in their area. So they're here as well, represented by Mr. Chijoro, and he has some other fellows here. And another very important stakeholder is so conspicuous that I don't think anybody here can fail to see that. The BDF. I think it's only lately that really we see how BDF are a STEM industry. They are. And we've got this relationship now with them. And they value the relationship so much that when we talked about STEM festivals, yes, count us in. And we are counting them in real big numbers. So I want to say to the generals here that we are so thankful. I can't explain the details. I think they have a stall here. When you go to their store, that's when you will see how they are stamped. So all I wanted to say is to say, please, don't be surprised when you are seeing this uniform here. They are part of BIUST, by the way. Thank you very much. We have international participation with us. We have representatives coming from South Africa, coming from Zimbabwe. No, Zimbabwe didn't come. Lesotho, Kenya, Uganda, Germany, and what are the other areas? USA. The danger of mentioning names and then you forget others. But we really have a lot of international participation here as well. Otherwise, let me thank the industries that I have not mentioned, but they are here. I really wanted to stand up and say to you, you are making STEM to be what it really has to be, that it is alive and it is operational. So thank you very much, Director of Ceremony.
Thank you, Dr. Mutlabani. Palapye Voices. Indeed, the world around us revolves around STEM. And it is no surprise that as you enter BIUST, there is a big banner over the bridge that says, BIUST, the home of research, innovation, and development. BIUST is the embodiment of STEM in the country, and we cannot do it without the partnerships that have already been alluded to. Palapye Voices.
Thank you very much, Palapye Voices. May we please give them a round of applause again? Ke Motswana ya nonki pasara wana bo meba sa duetse bana ba ne ba ira go Thank you very much. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. It's actually an acronym, and from what I've just said, you can see that really STEM is the core of who we are as a university. And now we continue with our program, and at this juncture, we'll be welcoming the District Commissioner, Re Matumo, to come and do the introduction keynote address. May we just clap hands as he comes to the podium.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Assistant Minister, the Vice Chancellor, Director of Ceremonies. Let me just say, protocol observed. I should have first greeted you, ladies and gentlemen. Most Setswaneng wa dumedisa ga o simolola ka go bua le batho hela. Dumelang bagaetsho ka pula. I'm going to be reading the personal profile of the Honorable Assistant Minister. I will start by going like this, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Israel Master Hoya is the Assistant Minister of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, as well as a Member of Parliament for Palapye constituency. Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Hoya was appointed to Mute in May 2019. The core mandate of Mute is to provide and build knowledge and innovation through the development and implementation of policy on tertiary education, research, science and technology in order to transform Botswana from a resource to a knowledge-based economy through effective stakeholder collaboration. The ministry is responsible for policy on student financing, tertiary institutions, and coordinating research, science, and technology development. Before being appointed to this ministry, he was Assistant Minister in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. His portfolio mandate within this Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry was to create a conducive environment for the promotion of investment and development of sustainable industries and trade with a view to diversify and grow the economy, therefore creating wealth and employment to realize prosperity for all Botswana. Before joining the Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry, Honorable Hoya was the Assistant Minister at the Ministry of Education and Skills Development, and later at the Ministry of Basic Education. His work at the Ministry of Basic Education was to provide accessible, equitable, relevant, and quality basic education to produce competent, innovative, and internationally competitive individuals who will continue to tertiary education and drive this country's economic growth to economic growth. He was therefore overseeing and managing the daily business desk of business education. His portfolio addressed emerging issues related to human resource development, regional operations, curriculum development and evaluation, inspectorate services, and infrastructural development within the ministry. Director of Ceremonies, let me continue to say, he has thrice been voted to Parliament, first in 2008 through a by-election, 2009 again, and again in 2014. He joined Cabinet in 2014 as an Assistant Minister of Education and Skills Development, and later became Assistant Minister of Basic Education following the restructuring of government ministries in October 2016. Honorable Hoya has actively served as the chairperson of the following parliamentary committees. These committees, ladies and gentlemen, included one that is feared most by accounting officers, being other people already know what this committee is. The Public Accounts Committee, Works, Transport and ICT. He has also been a member of the following parliamentary committees: Finance and Estimate, HIV and Health, Portfolio Committee on Finance, Trade and Economic Development. Honorable Hoya was elected to be a member of the Pan-African Parliament, where he actively served as a Deputy Secretary General of the Committee on Finance and Monetary Affairs from 2008 till August 2014. He has also served as a Deputy Chairperson of SADC Organization of Public Accounts Committee, SADCOPEC. But not least, Director of Ceremonies. His employment background before joining politics entails intensive banking experience, having served in the following positions with Standard Chartered Bank: Head of Consumer Banking Recoveries Unit, Credit Risk Compliance Manager, Senior Customer Assistant Manager, Regional Sales and Services Manager, and Branch Manager. He has also served the bank in Uganda, where he was seconded to open new branches. In conclusion, Honorable Hoya holds a postgraduate diploma obtained in 2002 in management from Nottingham Trent University, and also a UK postgraduate certificate obtained in 2000 in management from the same university in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, I must pronounce that he is married with 3 kids, a boy and a girl. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that introduction. You may be seated, please. I don't know where the district commissioner gets all this information from, because nobody asked me for it. But anyway, it says a lot about me. That's exactly who I am. That said, Director of Ceremonies, let me start first and foremost by recognizing all the dignitaries here present this morning. And of course, I should start by recognizing my chief, Jose Raetso Michael Hobotswang Amafra. So they say. And let me also recognize the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, Dr. Baipulet. Also in our midst is the Central District Council Chairperson, Raitsu Peter Williams. And also, I'm told there are quite a number of council members here present. I recognize Councillor Renzel Adikai. Where are the other councillors? I can recognize Mayor Magabatusi, Councillor Abatusi in our midst. I can recognize Councillor Mayor Male Sole. I can recognize Councillor Mayor Marale Horing. And I think these are the only council members here present. I would also like to recognize the Vice Chancellor, or rather I should start with the Deputy Council Chairperson of BIUST Council, Dr. Fizani. I recognize the council members here present, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Otorich. I've realized that the name Otorich is synonymous with professors. There's one professor at the University of Botswana called Professor Otorich. Tapero Otorich. And this is Professor Otorich Totoro in our midst. Visiting Vice Chancellors from other institutions here present. And of course, our guest speaker from Botswana, who is the head of all processing, Edwin Ennis, the Deputy VCs here present, and the directors of BIUST, the Deputy Commander of our Army, Botswana Defense Force, Major General Marake, and those who accompany you, the Army officers accompany you, the presenters and exhibitors, captains of the industry. I'm actually tempted to recognize everybody here present, and that is for obvious reason. Obvious reason that, you know, when it comes this time of the year, we politicians, we would like to recognize each and everyone. Because if you fail to do that, I know that when it comes 1st of July, my team will be doing the house-to-house campaigns. And if I go in one household, and there's one amongst us here who I did not recognize, that person will say that you didn't recognize me at least. So, guys, captains of industry, and Stanbic branch manager, I can recognize you. And I'll be permitting the interest of justice if I can fail to recognize you, because I am a product of the banking industry, as the District Commissioner earlier alluded to. The media houses here present, BIUST staff, and students of BIUST. I want to start talking like a politician. We politicians, when we address people, more especially when it's a huge gathering like this one, we usually take advantage of it. And we use very unique words. Unique words like I'm pleased, I'm honored, I'm privileged, and so forth. So because I'm a politician, let me start by saying that I am delighted. I am delighted and privileged to officiate at this occasion of the 5th STEM Festival, Research and Innovation Symposium. This festival and symposium is held under the theme, and I quote, STEM-driven economy, transforming research into profitable products and services, close quote. To me, this is quite an intriguing theme, and it comes at a time when Botswana is shifting focus from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. Allow me to speak to this theme in two parts. The STEM-driven economy and transformation of research into profitable products and services. Distinguished guests, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO for short, emphasizes that member states should invest in science. Member states should invest in technology. Member states should invest in innovation as a precursor to economic development and social progress. In fact, the modern race for progress will surely be won by countries or nations with dedicated scientists, countries and nations with dedicated engineers, countries and nations with dedicated mathematicians and technologists. As a country, we cannot afford to be left behind in this race altogether. I'm therefore pleased to inform you that government has stepped up to the challenge and is prioritizing investment in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects through institutions such as this very one, Botswana International University of Science and Technology. To ensure achievement of this priority, government will improve access to tertiary education through provision of funding and infrastructure development for public institutions. In this connection, it is important for Botswana to train experts in STEM programs in order for our country to become globally competitive. I'm quite optimistic that beyond the year of our Lord 2020, our tertiary institutions will start receiving students with high competency in science and mathematics. I'm saying this because with effect from next year, primary school examinable subjects will be based on 4 subjects: science, mathematics, English, and Setswana. We are going to start examining our pupils on these 4 subjects. Great emphasis is going to be put on science and mathematics. And what we're going to do about these 4 subjects is that we are going to increase the teaching time for them. And this is the more reason why I'm saying that with effect from next year going forward, high institutions of learning such as this one are going to receive students with a high degree of competency in science and mathematics. Ladies and gentlemen, with regard to research and development, the revised National Policy on Research, Science, Technology and Innovation, RST for short, of 2011, intends to create a supportive environment for research and development and to impact economic growth by creating a robust national system of innovation. The policy also intends to create an increased investment in research and development activities to at least 2% of gross domestic product from both government and the private sector. Currently, government's contribution to research and development stood at 0.07% of the GDP in 2016-2017 financial year and 0.09% in the 2017-2018 financial year. This is peanuts. This is nothing. 0.07% of GDP. And therefore, urge stakeholders to contribute to the research and development funding. Transforming research into profitable products and services can strengthen sustained progress towards improved living conditions by building environmentally friendly and more efficient societies. To this end, research findings should not remain in the hands of a few academics, but should be plowed into the economy through sustainable business models that can produce products and services. Academics should commercialize their research in order to lead the country on a path to attain sustainable development. Director of Ceremonies, there is no doubt that research and development are crucial to economic growth, job creation, and improving the quality of life amongst our communities. A month ago, we had a meeting with a group of academics who researched the economic, chemical, and medicinal values of morama and mongongo fruits. They were encouraged to patent their research results and to develop a business plan that can attract international funding for the production of morama products. It is through these manufacturing factories where thousands of jobs can be created for our young people and local communities. While it is important to turn our research into business models, we should not forget to patent our research findings. If we forget this important part, we will throw away our inventions to international funders with vested interest in our research findings. This scenario was reiterated to the Marama researchers and told them to move with lightning speed to patent their findings, lest they find their products patented by foreign manufacturers. Last week, I attended the Botswana Accountancy College International ICT conference, where the need to patent our innovations was also reiterated. To this end, I am glad to learn that BIUST and SIPA have an excellent relationship to develop policies on IP protection. And mind you, SIPA is now online with effect from this month. The market for research is wide and huge. As I earlier mentioned, research is a catalyst for change. In this connection, economies and businesses require research to innovate new solutions because they cannot afford to stay idle. As we transcend into the fourth industrial revolution, research is a necessity because its findings lead to new interventions, new inventions, and new technologies. In this era, companies should be prepared to make significant investment on research in order to develop new solutions. I therefore urge all academics to consider the commercial value of research and provide solutions that can be exported into the global market. This is what they need to do. I want Director of Ceremonies to take this opportunity to applaud government for choosing Palapye as the coal beneficiation hub. I'm confident that the partnership between BIUST and Special Economic Zones Authority, CESA for short, will become a catalyst for major product development and research opportunities. As I gravitate to concluding my remarks, I'm glad that this event has brought together international experts in science, experts in technology, experts in engineering, and experts in research and innovation fields. I also want to take this opportunity to applaud the organizers of this event because it is an important vehicle to achieve our transformation agenda. It is said and considered that our economy is transiting between efficiency and factor. So, and when you talk about transformation, there are those who think that it is the government that should take the lead in this whole agenda. And I want to say to all who are gathered here this morning that let it not be the responsibility of the government alone. Let's all play a part. Let's all contribute towards this transformation. Be it organizations, private ones, non-governmental organizations, and we as individuals. I think it's important for us to punch ourselves above our weight to contribute to this national agenda. If we are not going to do that, it will forever remain a pipe dream. So I urge all of us to please, 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 let's play ball together, not the government alone. To our valued foreign stakeholders, please feel at home and be free to visit our tourism destinations at the end of this festival symposium to see what this beautiful country has on offer. Not very far away from here, we have Moremi game where you can go there, you can even put up overnight, enjoy the whistling of the bass during the course of the night, and see what we have on offer as Palapyans. Director of ceremonies at this juncture, allow me to declare the 2019 STEM Research and Innovation Symposium officially opened, and I thank you very much for your attentive listening.
Thank you, Honorable Hoya, for that very informative speech. May we all be seated, and Palapye voices, please make your way to the stage to give us another melodious piece. I believe that you all agree with me here in this auditorium that the government of Botswana has done a lot for us in terms of sponsoring us to go out there to get educated. Now, let us not make this the mandate of the government alone, but like the Honorable Assistant Minister has mentioned, let it be our responsibility, all of us. What are we doing for our country? What are we doing for our country? Maybe we need to get to a point where we no longer ask what is our country doing for us, but what are we doing for the country? hands for them as they come this side. And at the end, I hear some ladies trying to relate but feeling out of place. Please be free. Clap your hands at the end if you like. Borre, you can whistle if you like. It's a university, but we're still Botswana. Thank you.
Vice Chancellor, may I please call on you to the podium to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you very much, Arale Kwaki, Dr. Dinakenyane, for driving this event. Mr. Edwin T. Elias is currently the head of ore processing metallurgy for the Botswana Mining Company. He is a metallurgical engineer by profession with at least 17 years experience within the diamond industry business. Mr. Elias has also spent at least 2.5 years as head of maintenance and process for DBS Canada, based at Victor Mine, Ontario, Canada. Victor Mine, a remote-based open-pit diamond mine operation, accessible through fly-in and fly-out arrangement. Mr. Elias has an executive master's in business administration from the University of Toronto, Rotman School of Management, Toronto, Canada. A Bachelor of Science, Metallurgical Engineering from Missouri-Rolla, USA, and an Emerging Leaders Program certification from the London Business School, London in the United Kingdom. He's also an inaugural board member of the Botswana Institute for Technology Research and Innovation, where he was the chairman of Battery Quality and Technology Committee and member of the Board Tender Committee, as well as a member of the Finance, Risk and Audit Committee. Mr. Elias also recently appointed to serve in the BIUST Department of Chemical Materials, Metallurgical Engineering in the Advisory Board. Mr. Elias is also a director of Treemark Capital, a Canadian-based company that provides strategic and management support along with seed capital to early-stage companies with demonstrated products, market traction, and potential economies of scale. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put our hands together to welcome Eddie Elias to the podium? Thank you.
Assistant Minister of Tertiary Education, Research, Science and Technology, and MP for Palapye, Honorable Mr. Lavoya, Deputy PS, Dr. Vaikuledi, District Commissioner of Palapye, Ramatumo, Khosi Ramafuraha, the BIUST Vice Chancellor, Professor Tugetsu Totolo, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Deputy Commander of the BDF, Ramorake, the CEOs here present, Head of Departments, Captains of the Industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Kiali Jumedis. Director of Ceremony, it is indeed my pleasure to be speaking at this year's STEM Festival, Research and Innovation Symposium. The STEM Festival Research and Innovation Symposium for 2019 creates an opportunity for industry players to share learnings and find solutions to challenges in their businesses from this concentration of expertise. It is a great opportunity for industrialists to scout for promising innovations and link up with innovators for opportunities to industrialize and make business essential connections. With such an important platform for knowledge sharing, it therefore gives me great pleasure, Director of Ceremony, to see the rich and rare mix of policymakers and industrialists present at this gathering today. The fact that science and technology are the key drivers of economic growth is not questionable, as this has long been proven globally around the world. Technology and scientific revolutions underpin economic advances, translating into improvements in health systems, education, infrastructure, doing business, and so forth. What is in question, though, is why the pace of uptake and development has lagged in Africa, and particularly in our country, Botswana. Notwithstanding, there is a new awakening in Africa, as seen in the emergence of science and technology, research and innovation institutions, and universities, a reawakening in that Africa was once a cradle for mathematics and science, as exemplified by the Egyptian civilization spanning as far back as 3150 BC. What is in question is how Botswana, is participating in this 21st century technological revolution of microprocessors, telecommunication, biotechnology, and nanotechnology, whose products transform business practices as well as the lives of those who access that utility. Director of Ceremony, here at home in Botswana, our consciousness of the STEM revolution is not in doubt. It is exemplified by our STEM policy track record that shows a national yearning to jump into the STEM bandwagon. It is pleasing to know that Botswana is endeavors to participate in global STEM race, considering her STEM policy track despite having started late. Honorable Minister, I'm cognizant of ongoing national efforts to create an enabling environment for the STEM race, particularly in establishing relevant policies, structures, and institutions. For instance, if you look at the revised National Policy on Education of 1994, espoused on the emphasis of sciences technology as one of the overall objectives of our national education. The second aspect is around the National Human Resource Development Strategy 2009 to 2022, among other national policy perspectives, acknowledges the need for Botswana to transform to a knowledge-based economy for her to be a globally competitive nation. The other key aspect to take note of is the revised national policy on research, science, technology, and innovation that highlights the criticality of policies that stimulate the translation of scientific and technological capabilities into knowledge-intensive, value-added goods and services across all sectors of the economy. Just coming closer to home, the Botswana International University of Science and Technology, which is BIUST, was essentially established to become a vehicle for science and technology development through research and technology transfer. Now we're going to have to also look at Vision 2036, which I'll challenge every citizen of this country and anybody else who really needs to understand where our nation needs to go and understand what Vision 2036 pledges to be. So it pledges that Botswana will be a knowledge-based economy, and it aims to promote the use of science, technology, and innovation in the social, economic, and business spheres in order to enhance the benefits of efficiency. Now, Honorable Minister, the 0.3% GDP share for STEM, however, cannot by any imagination take us any closer to the pace setters in this economic race. Now, my appeal is for this country, for us to consider that while we may not possibly afford the 3% of GDP for research and development like nations such as Japan, may we at least try to direct at least 2% of GDP towards research and development as a nation. Director of Ceremony, indeed it gives me great pleasure and honor to speak at this event, and I look forward to interacting with the refined minds of intellectuals and the professors, doctors, and students of varied science, technology, engineering, and maths, as well as the young and aspiring, promising minds that fit into the pipeline of science and technology innovation. I'm informed, Director of Ceremony, that there are 77 STEM innovations in exhibitions, varying in complexity and level of finish, and exhibited by cross-section of innovators from primary schools, junior secondary schools, senior secondary schools, tertiary education, out-of-school youth, and researchers. And I'm filled with hope that from this collection of seasoned and budding innovators shall arise disruptive technology of note. And Director of Ceremony, in conclusion, I wish to challenge BIUST to double its efforts in engaging private sector or industry for collaboration and core STEM development. It is surely in the interest of industry to find local solutions for the current business challenges. I challenge the industry too, to realize that BIUST as a technology-inclined institution has got immeasurable innate potential that it can ride on. And I implore the industry to appreciate that BIUST and other STEM-inclined institutions could be cradles for our economic revolution and assure us of our global competitiveness. Now, finally, I want to acknowledge BIUST efforts in igniting a STEM movement mentality through such ventures as STEM Festival, Research and Innovation Symposium, which tries to bring together in a celebratory mode all stakeholders that recognize STEM as inevitable driver of our economic advancement. I wish to assure BIUST of Debswana's unfettered support and well wishes in this journey. We are in it together, and you are guaranteed our support. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let the journey continue and let us increase our efforts in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Palapye Voices, you are supposed to be coming on stage, but you're supposed to be coming on stage now. Let us give our speaker another round of applause, please. He said some very insightful things there. He challenged us as well. I believe we are challenged and informed now. And at this point, I will be welcoming a young Motswana who is very passionate. He's ever busy, this gentleman that I'm going to welcome, but he's busy making change in our country. He's passionate about making changes in young minds across the country. One moment he's in Gaborone, the other moment he's in Orapa, he's all over the country, but all with one objective: to change this country for the better. He's very passionate about STEM in general. And his name is Mr. Teboho Mohalemang, who is going to have a lead presentation just in a few minutes. He's the founder of and the director of Spectrum Analytics. And he also acts in our advisory board. Let me just steal that moment and say that. We as BIUST, we are really passionate in working with the industry as well, because we believe we cannot be able to produce graduates that are ready for the market unless we involve the private sector. So say we do involve you, and we are still going to come knocking to involve you even more. So he is part of the advisory board in computer science and information systems. Remo Halemang, we welcome you. Let us.
Thank you for the kind words. Okay, while we are waiting for the presentation to show up, I'll just play. I'll let all of you watch me play with this robot that we have brought here. And we want to disrupt the education sector and teach kids how to do science in an interesting way by learning to code robots like this. So a few kids will be part of our mini program for 2 days, and we'll be teaching them robotics and coding. So I'm lucky to be playing before them, and while we're still waiting, really lucky to have all of you here watching me play. So I'm going to do donuts. Oh, you don't see, can't see. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm one man, and you can see I'm a bit of a tiny guy, so the podium would be too heavy for me. But let me put it. Yeah, like it medical. Okay. So this is a robot that can be introduced in schools as part of like the learning curriculum for coding. And you can imagine if we want no kid to be left behind, we need to be thinking about bigger impact. And for us, this is part of it. Science, technology, engineering, and maths have been emphasized to be important by all previous speakers. So I won't overwhelm you with like additional information on why that is important. But just to show you, so some lucky kids would get to build, assemble, and play with this little guy. And they'll give him a wink. They'll do obstacle courses where they're able to navigate. There's some sensors there. So it's a full-fledged robot that can even be used at tertiary education level. Anyway, the presentation is not showing up, so I'll just speak to you for 15 minutes. Now, all previous speakers were touched on policy issues and other things, but I didn't hear the modern words, the buzzwords coming out. We are in an age of interconnected devices, and that means we are generating more data than ever before. So with digitalization, we now need to rethink what the knowledge economy is. We have been talking about the knowledge economy without linking it to digitalization. So my presentation was to challenge all of us here to reflect a bit and realize that the world is moving on at a faster rate than we are catching up. So with each day, we're essentially falling behind. So we now need to rethink what we can do to at least leapfrog or start playing by international standards. Now, if you observe the nature of all industries, you go in finance, there is fintech, you go in health, there is health tech, you go in mining, there is mining tech, you go in education, there is education tech, you go into agriculture, there is agri-tech. So tech is disrupting all industries now. So even people in healthcare now, they now get a lot of data that they need to analyze. So we now need to think what future skills required to drive this knowledge economy in the era of digitalization are. And coding, or robotics and coding as it is, allows students to pick critical skills like problem solving. They become curious. They can think about, take a problem, break it into smaller pieces and solve what they are familiar with. And this approach towards learning and this approach towards problem solving is what we need as a country if we are to move forward. Because where we are going, business as usual is not good enough. And if we want to catch up, we now need to send clear intentions of what we want to do. We now need also to be deliberate, and it needs to be clear how we are going to move forward. Other nations are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We're still talking about the knowledge economy, but in a divorced sense of where the rest of the world is going. And that, I believe, we need to address. We need to have a national task force that is advising cabinet on the upcoming disruptions and what it would mean, and the type of students we need to pump out of our education system. Because gone are those days when graduating with a degree means there was a job waiting for you. So now we are in an era where we have a lot of graduates, unemployed graduates for that matter, but there's something wrong with that mindset as well, where we just have students and they don't realize they're problem solvers. Because entrepreneurship itself is problem solving. You identify a problem, you look for a solution to solving the problem, then you monetize the problem. So if we are not going to encourage students to be problem solvers from a young age, we are going to have students who graduate and think they need jobs. We need to harness our advantage as a country. There are a lot of things we have done well. I've been fortunate enough to be sponsored by the government for my 4-year degree overseas, where I graduated with a Masters of Engineering from the University of Southampton in UK. At their expense as taxpayers. So now the question is, what am I giving back? Because while we have this conversation about producing students with the right qualification, we are neglecting the fact that we still have a lot of students who graduated from the best universities around the world who are not adding value in our economy. So that should show us that it isn't about the students that we are producing per se. There is something bigger in our ecosystem that we also need to address. And it boils down to a few points that some speakers have touched on. One being university, industry, and government partnerships. I'm fortunate to interact with students and really passionate young people wherever I go. And these are the people who are always thinking about producing a solution to the problem that they see around them. And these are people that we should empower, because, you know, you cannot solve a problem with the same mentality that created it. So, in a way, and I would like to plead to our Baholo, if I could say, I've been trying to do this from when I was youth. Don't let my looks deceive you. I'm done on that stage. but here I am, still making the same call. So I can imagine there are other students out there who, are we just going to squander talent? Because in one way we should look at it as that. We are squandering talent in Botswana. We have educated enough young people. We educate young people on a daily. The government, I've looked around the world and I can't find a country that can take a student from primary school all the way to tertiary school. I studied with kids who had to work when I was in UK to finance part of their studies, while we just had to wait up until 27. And then something comes. Without fail, regularly, reliably. But a part of the problem with this is we have bred a mentality that does not spur us to want to challenge the status quo. And we now need to think about liberating our young people's minds so that they consider themselves to be problem solvers If we are not going to be taken seriously as kids, or as young adults, or as youth, we are going to behave like kids, because nobody expects us to be grown up. And another thing with this mentality that we are breeding is we keep asking students, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you know, we say it with some pride. But really, if you think about that, you realize we want kids to imagine the current world and pick something to be now, which is quite limiting. Somebody shared with us that in other countries, they'll ask kids, what do you want to change about the world? And that brings about a new way of looking into what they need to do. Because they need to think about the world and identify its limitations and think about self-application to solve these problems. And we have an advantage now in that in the age we are in, we are generating so much data that if we are deliberate in our pursuit of evidence-based decisions, we would stop saying, hey, we have good policies but poor implementation. I don't know how we got there, but I've heard this across all areas where we know we have a government in play, like present, and there are discussions. And there are studies that have shown that it's because we are not using data. Or where data is available, it's not in usable format. So let's use data to help us grow like all the other countries. And we should also look at what we are good at as a country. Because I can give you an example, like in Netherlands, they have patented Khotla, like our traditional way of making decisions where we gather together and exchange opinions in an open sense. And now it's part of like management consultancy somewhere. While we're still here thinking we need to learn new things, yes we do. But what are we going to do with what we are already good at? We have been in mining for how many years? 50 years now. But what can we show as like knowledge we have packaged around that area to export to other countries? We have been in the beef industry for so many years, and I have to say, for those who are coming outside Botswana, get a taste of our beef. You'll understand why everywhere you go you'd see meat on everybody's plate in Botswana. Why haven't we packaged anything to sell to the world around the beef sector as well? So there are so many things that we are good at. You go to Manyalo, your weddings, you see that we are coordinated. Why don't we package a management style around the same thing? Because sometimes innovation is not necessarily about coming with new things. It's about self-application. It's about breaking out of the mold. And it's about taking a risk. And we now need more than ever to risk on our youth. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Radumalana Kirika, this gentleman. Can we give him a round of applause again? If you remember, we were supposed to have some music to lighten the moment, and at this juncture we'll be welcoming that choir again to give us a melodious piece. Palapye voices, may you come to the podium and give us an item. There are so many things that we are doing as a country, and like he's saying, it's like we don't. There are key things that have been highlighted. One is patenting our issues to make them patent somehow, because we don't do patents at all. And then because there hasn't been research that has been done around that. But you wonder, if those people from the local villages were to join forces with the researchers, won't we come up with something that is world-changing? Someone the other time talked about, you see, when you travel around debating, there are those people that sell that liquid, I don't know what it's called, but apparently it works for whatever it's supposed to work for. And then one person was like, but sometimes I want to buy that liquid, but the problem is that I don't know when it was prepared. So it scares me because I don't know the expiry date of that mixture. Thank you.
Gentlemen, Piki Mabulani, Sala Sala, 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 gentlemen,
nale talente go go tsengwa rwa Palapye ke kopa makopela go fi gape. I am going to indulge in my powers as the co-director of ceremonies to vary the program that we have. I'm going to call upon the Deputy Chair of the BIUST Council, Dr. Fizane, assisted by the Vice Chancellor, to present the token of appreciation for Honorable Minister Re Mwisrele Master Moya.
Thank you very much. Yeah, get scarf over. It's just a scarf because it's winter time. Not keep well, thank you very much. And an umbrella, of course. And a tie. You see the color, blue color. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Can I ask Dr. Fizane and the VC to remain standing and call on Mr. Edwin Elias to receive his token of appreciation.
The same tokens.
So similar to the Honorable Buffett. Thank you.
Can I call upon Retemo Mohaleman to receive his token of appreciation, which should be our last? As we get ready to transition to the panel discussion. Re Mohalema. Please come to the podium side.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Fizane, VC.
At this point, like my colleague has already mentioned, we are going to be having a panel discussion. We have speakers from different organizations. Even the army is represented, as it was mentioned. Due to our short-sightedness when we were growing up, we didn't see how STEM fits within the BDF, but now I believe we all do. And so we have 4 panelists who I would like to come and join me on the stage. We have the Deputy Commandant, the Joint Technical Training School of Botswana Defense Force. We also have a representative from Morupulo Coal Mine. We have the regional manager north of the local enterprise authority, which is LEA. And we also have a representative who is the manager of graduate research and innovation with Human Resource Development Council. May I kindly ask the speakers to join us on stage? The panelists. I understand we also have a representative from the Stanbic Bank who will also be joining us on stage. Ariba Amorelenga. And so these panelists are going to be looking at the theme that we have, and they are going to be making the discussion or interrogating it more in the sense of where are we as a country, where do we want to go, and how do we close the gap. So Remo Halemang will help us to lead the panel discussion. I want to believe all the speakers are now on stage, so I'll be handing over to Remo Halemang.
STEM economy. So before we jump into our discussion, I'll just like all the panelists to briefly just touch on how, from their organization point of view, they look at STEM and its importance. Just a brief intro, really.
Perhaps I should also introduce myself.
Yes, sir.
I'm Wawan Tebolan from Human Resource Development Council, Manager Graduate Research and Innovation. Part of our mandate is to facilitate and close the gap between our universities and the industry.
Good morning. My name is Diana Solani. I'm the Regional Manager North for LEA. I'm standing in for the LEA CEO who is not able to be with us today. You will be aware that LEA is into entrepreneurship development and SMME development. We are aware businesses start.
Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dimapo. I'm the Deputy Commandant of the Joint Technical Training School of the BDF. And in all, like it has already been said, nowadays we talk of military revolutionary affairs. And we and at the pinnacle of that, war fighting, it's all about making decisions, and very quick decisions, which should not be detrimental to your own forces and own people that you are protecting, but only to the enemy. And therefore we rely on microelectronics, we rely on the general electromagnetic spectrum. We also have to ensure that we have understanding of nuclear, biological, chemical, and biological warfare systems. So that is why we are here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I hope you will agree with me that there is no coming back from such a hefty introduction such as this one. And I think you now know where to direct all the difficult questions. My name is Callistus Chijoro. I work for Stanbic Bank in Botswana. I look after business banking. And I'm not an engineer. In fact, Refizane was my lecturer at some point, so I'm a student of economics. But at the bank, we are really beneficiaries of the wonderful work that emanates out of STEM. So all the decisions that you look for as our clients that are real-time, reliable, stable decisions that are enabled by engineers that you don't see every day. When you see a very sound bank, a bank that you want to be associated with, behind that, the person that you don't see is an engineer, is a data scientist, which is a very big thing, as you said earlier on, that are making things happen. And really, all that I do at the end of the day is to come and smile and to wave and look very handsome in front of the camera. But it is the engineers and the data scientists that really make it happen in the background. Thank you.
So, looking at the theme, re-examining the theme first, and looking at where we are next, in terms of your industry disruptions, what have you noticed like in recent years? And I would like to, I guess we all know where this one is going first, because the military in many countries has led technological innovation. Many people may not realize, but if it wasn't for military technology, we wouldn't have mobile phones. So looking at the current trends, how is your area in a non-disclosive way, like general sense of things, how has disruptions been in your industry, sir?
Thank you, sir. It's an interesting question, but the answers are there. All in all, or basically, because we are the major consumer of various technologies, spanning from microelectronics and auto mechanics up to aircraft, aviation, aeronautical technologies, and even technologies in molecular science. The BDF, we are not a manufacturing industry or profit-making organization per se. But however, the High Command indeed found it fit that we also need not to be left behind and be part of these technological advances. And military technology is never at a standstill. And at one of the significant step that the BDF High Command has undertaken was to engage with the stakeholders, especially in country like BIUST, whereby we ended up entering into the memorandum of understanding, like we have one with BIUST that has been in operation for the past 3 years. And we have others also with organizations like the Botswana Institute of Technology and Innovation and Research, and other stakeholders as well. And we are a consumer of a wide range of equipment that hinges or relies on the principles of operation of science and technological products and services, all the way from the ground operating troops who use the handheld weapon systems with the optics, and going up in the higher platform, the air dimension, We also rely on reconnaissance systems, both during the day and at night. We also use aircraft platforms and unmanned systems like missiles, which are guided to attain certain precision of target acquisition. We also operate in an environment that is likely to be contaminated with nuclear, biological, chemical weapons or weapons of mass destruction. Hence, our troops need to be knowledgeable with those aspects. Thank you.
You can share the roving mic. I'll have. I've been given a special mic myself, so you can share that one. So I would like to address the same question now to you, sir, from the banking sector. How has technology changed how you're working and how you will work in the future?
Yeah, technology has phenomenally changed banking. When we look at, let's say from the 70s to the 80s, when we did banking, there were no core banking platforms, i.e. what really keeps the money or a record of your money in the bank. It was very, very sketchy, it was difficult. Those days, people used to run around with journals. If you say that I'm sending you money, we would write it down on a piece of paper, a guy would run across the hall for somebody to capture it on the system, and then that would reflect later. Technology has enabled that to change. We have now core banking platforms that have made banking so much the more easier. We no longer have people running around with journals. Everything is real time and it's on the system. And it's because of the extensive programming that's been done on the background, running with a core banking platform. If you look at what our consumers want, they want real-time, instant decisioning. If you're looking for a facility, you know, Harry Bank, Red Johnson, before the days of centralized lending, you would walk into the branch and say to the branch manager, "Loan 50,000." And depending on how he feels on that day, he would say, or if he's really happy and he woke up on the right side of the bed, he would give it to you. There was really no intuitive and extensive, assessment that took place. Nowadays, we've got data. It's all in the system. And, we've been able to manage our risk better because we understand our consumer patterns and so on and so forth. So a lot of it is on the system. But a few years ago, or even now, if you applied for a facility like a loan and you get it in 2 days, you go like, yeah, this bank is really good. Where we're going is we're looking at a future where you can apply for a facility, for instance, and be able to get a loan in 2 minutes. Apply for it and get it into your account in 2 minutes. And it's simply because of the work that's happening, that engineers are doing, that data scientists are doing, enabling things like that. I'd like to share also how technology has transformed the lives of our farmers. I've got a client in the Tuli block. He's got 1,000 hectares of land that he plows potatoes and whatever not. He waters or irrigates using what we call center pivots. Now, if you'd like to think of it, these are just really very big sprinklers. Now, he has no time to go and switch each one of them on and off. Technology actually enables him, whether he's in London or he's in Russia, using satellite technology to turn those center pivots on and off. Now, that's fantastic news. Satellite technology has enabled our farmers, 1,000 hectares of land. You can actually tell real time the moisture content of the soil. And so when a farmer comes to sit with me and says that I need a facility, there is no guesswork, there is no thumb sucking. We can talk about the nutrient level, the moisture content, the rain patterns in the area. And so we are able to effectively say, are you good for the money or not? And so all of this, I can share all sorts of stories, but such is how our lives have changed.
So, given how technology or STEM has disrupted like your two industries, for example, I would like now to bring it back to human resource side of things. What can we do now, and what are we doing, sir, to close the gap so that we can deliver at that level?
Thank you, sir. The issue of transforming research outputs into profitable products and services has always been a policy concern. And as alluded to this morning in the keynote address and by the guest speaker, and why we are gathered here today, it clearly shows that this is a policy concern. Now, the question is, are we alive to the bottlenecks that hinders technology transfer and the gap that exists between the industry and our researchers based in our universities? That lack of mutual understanding between our industry and academic environments, the fact that they operate in different environments with different motives. Sometimes we have dismissive, uninterested university management, or even clueless and cooperative researchers, as well as the industry management. So the starting point, what is key, is to appreciate the technology transfer process from the point of a scientific discovery right through to the point of commercializing that output. The researcher has to disclose their discovery, and then we need to have technology transfer officers who has to assess the potential or the prospects as to whether that scientific discovery has those prospects to be transformed into a product or a service. So we need to ask ourselves as to whether we have a functional research and innovation value chain or national innovation ecosystem. That is the starting point. Do we have the necessary infrastructure? Do we have the necessary funding that was alluded to this morning? And most critical when it comes to the aspect of human resource, do we have the right expertise to drive this research beyond basic research, that as it is now? Do we have patent attorneys, examiners, patent agents who can file for patenting once a discovery has been found? Do we have, I earlier on talked about technology transfer officers who can assess whether your scientific discovery has prospects to be transformed into a product or a service? Do we have prototype developers, rapid manufacturers who can accelerate and incubate your scientific discovery? And I want to appeal to education and training providers here present to take on offering programs that are related to intellectual property, because we need this expertise like yesterday for us to be able to move research beyond basic research. It's very, very key that we establish and analyze our respective roles as key stakeholders, our stake in the research and innovation value chain. What is our contribution in relation to our mandate? We need to be seen to be facilitating dialogue and collaborations so that we have common departure points that are necessary for coordination and collective action. So I want to say that all is not lost. We have witnessed recent activities that are geared towards developing a functional research and innovation ecosystem. We have seen the establishment of BIUST, our host this morning, Botswana International University of Science and Technology, to develop or to conduct research that can be transformed into products and services. We have seen the establishment of a commercialization unit at Office of Research Department at University of Botswana, Botswana Innovation Hub for Incubation and Acceleration of Inventions, B3. We have seen companies' intellectual property authority for protection of our inventions, and of course HRDC to facilitate and close the gap between our universities and the industry, and DRST to drive the research agenda for this country. Thank you.
Now, I would like to now ask, from the entrepreneurial point of view, you later interact with different types of entrepreneurs. So, given the importance of STEM, what is being done to be biased towards promoting STEM-related entrepreneurship? And from your, what would you advise universities to do, given the gaps that you interact, like you find when you deal with maybe students who are starting to start their businesses and that?
Thank you. I'll start by trying to answer some of the questions he asked. He was asking if we have any patenting attorneys in this country. The answer is no. If we have one, he would have been registered this financial year. So anyone who needs any patenting assistance legally, they have to source those from South Africa. So I just wanted to deal with that. And then Leah and STEM. What I can share right away is that we are not getting enough of STEM clients. We are not getting enough of entrepreneurs in the science, technology, and mathematics side of things. But now sitting here, upon reflection, I'm also trying to reflect on my team. Do I even have STEM employees in my team? Maybe it would be 10% of my staff would be from the technology kind of thing. So when people come to seek services from LEA, they will normally be facing people from business graduation schools. There will not be anyone from STEM who would only bring in a STEM person if he speaks complicated English like the guy next to me. So if he doesn't speak complicated English enough, they never get to interact with our technology advisors. So we have read and heard that STEM boosts common sense, and it also supports decision making and resilience, and those are the attributes that we require from entrepreneurs. But the kind of entrepreneurs that we are attracting right now are the ones who will run away at the face of a slight problem. The lingoya thing, mostra thing, you get entrepreneurs, some you train them halfway, you develop a business plan, you do everything, you take them to incubators. When you do a follow-up 6 months later, they would be employed somewhere. The lingo would be strata seraf, strata senalebembaso. So you realize we lack STEM in our entrepreneurs. So what we could be asking for is maybe the universities would need to see how they infuse both business and STEM at the same time, rather than keeping them apart, like that you have a STEM graduate and a business graduate. They more or less like have similar skills, similar outlook, and the similar attitude towards the business environment.
The next question would go to all of you, and it's the question that I posed when I was giving my presentation. Given all the challenges that we have and where we're going, what would you like to see in place for us to take huge strides forward, if I could say?
Maybe start with that one. So I've been known many times to be quite controversial, and So the Khosi thing, so I speak under his protection. The minister is also here, so please don't persecute me for saying these things. But I think for me, over time, so let's just go back. Who are the students that go into STEM? They are the smartest of the lot. Is that a fair comment? Yeah, the guys who generally do well end up doing STEM. So even even before our times at uni, the guys who ended up doing PESC were the smartest, the guys who did really, really well. And then, you know, the rest of us would come in and do the other things. Now, let me also ask another question, and I'm going somewhere with what I'm about to say. Who are the guys who cycle to work? It's the scientists who are stuck in research. Because I suppose it's quite conservative. It comes with the turf. And who are the guys who jet off halfway across the world? It is the bankers. You know, it is the entrepreneurs. I suppose the point I'm making is the first thing we must do is we must make STEM a little bit more sexy. It must have appeal. So that's the first thing. And I say it's controversial because some people may not necessarily agree. But I think the people who come in with a business background and other fields seem to have a little bit of a head start compared to our colleagues who've done STEM. That's the first thing I want to leave with you. The second thing I want to leave with you is we need to create a marketplace where the guys who come in with the research and all of the wonderful things that we speak about interact with the rest of the market. Right now you could have a brilliant idea and you wouldn't know what to do with it. You could come to the bank and try and tell me that this thing is the next best thing after sliced bread, and I would be like, Mona, I've seen these things, so many of them, it's just a dream, go away. So we need to then very quickly say, how do we help each other? So the guys who come in with the brilliant ideas, are they the guys who are going to continue and monetize and commercialize, like you're saying? Because not many of us are able to multitask. We need more of what Elon Musk. The people who come in, who've got the commercial sense, but are hunting in the universities for the brilliant ideas. And that's a marketplace where the two converge. The other thing that we also need to do, in my view, is we also have to say, what am I, the question that you asked earlier on, what am I going to be when I grow up? Am I just going to be a scientist, or am I going to be a businessman? And sometimes it's okay to be a scientist and do research, but you need those forward links with the rest of the market to be able to benefit. And look, the point that I'm making is I want to see scientists, I want to see engineers benefit from the hard work that they are doing. I want to see them get the glory, bask in the glory of all the wonderful things that we say technology is able to do. And technology has done fantastic things, but at the end of the day, we're all, the STEM students, the guys who come in with the big innovations, are at the back end. We don't see them. They play behind the scenes. And all we see is some of us. So we must share the glory. And when we share the glory, and people know, it will profile STEM, and it will attract the young ones to come on in even further. So if we can do this, we will be encouraging more of us, more of our people, more of our students, the ones coming back in, to come in and be encouraged to do this, because we've increased the appeal and the potential is there for everyone to see. And I apologize once again if the views are controversial in some ways.
Thank you, sir, and thank you too, sir. Me being a man in uniform, and I hope you included me also under the course's protection, and my deputy commander here as well. But as from the army, sometimes we subscribe to the Chatham House rules, whereby anything that we discuss should remain within the confines of this building for purposes of progress and academic liberty. So I will subscribe to the Chatham House Rule. And I will initially echo my position as the military officer, and also from the Joint Technical Training School. I would wish to appreciate and thank the wisdom, the guidance, and the words that we got from the Honorable Assistant Minister and the MP of this area, Rehoya, for having indicated to us that just in the office we'll see science, English, mathematics, and Setswana being the most examinable subjects at grassroots level. Charity, sometimes we say it begins at home, and and we have seen it in the culture of most of the successful nations, like the Chinese, for example. The emphasis starts at family level, where the kids are taught hard work and discipline. And with the military being here, we are at the disposal of USEN to ensure that discipline is there in these schools from tertiary. Chatham rules, the commanders. Yes. Furthermore, we have seen that, like the lead presenter has said, the military and defense industry have always led greater scientific innovations and achievements, and that is quite true to a large extent, or let me say to some extent. And that being the case, due to the discipline that is inherent in military processes, I take it that it is also high time that our government, or at strategic level, the defense budget, together with the like-minded or sister institutions, it's been reconsidered such that those innovations are fast-tracked. And last but not least, the lead presenter talked of leapfrogging innovations. And he mentioned something that is at the center of system engineering integration and output-based education system, whereby I wish Botswana Qualification Authority could have also been here, because we have a lot of skills that are not seen as degrees or masters or doctorates, but such kind of skills needs also to be recognized and be certificated. So that is very, very crucial, because we are living in the times whereby we are not all of us going to have that opportunity to go for 4 or 5 years and do our degrees, but yet we have those skills that we need to recognize and accredit and develop further, output-based or performance-based. So that is very, very crucial, and I think it's high time we look along that direction as we thrive towards attaining knowledge-based economy. Of course, intellectual and physical objects need to be integrated so that milk can be delivered. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to also address some of the issues that are hindering commercialization of ideas, conversion of research into businesses. He has already talked about financing from the financing sector, but what you need to know is that very few banks, maybe 5% of the banking sector, would be willing to finance a startup that would be those people who would be carrying a research paper from BIUST to say, I want to convert this business idea into a business. 95% of the banks will turn you away because one, they require 3 years financial statements, and if you are working out of BIUST, you don't have those 3 years financial statements. They would require you to have security, and if you are a graduate, you don't have security. Your parents' house is already mortgaged somewhere, so you just go home. So those are some of the hindrances that we face in the SMME sector. You would have a business idea that is very good, but nobody is willing to risk because one, the entrepreneur doesn't have any assets. Two, nobody else has done it. Because when we still think in this country, we're still thinking about the 2 million market. We are not yet looking at the global village as the market for our products and services. But you will realize that we are importing a lot of products, and those countries, when they did those products, they included us in their market. But for us, when we do our own business plans, we are only confined to the 2 million. If you are saying, China, they are going to require you to bring commitments that says China will buy your goods. But for us, we import every day. We never write any commitment to anyone to say we will buy the moi moi blanket or not, but we do buy them.
Thank you. Perhaps I should also ask for protection, specifically from my minister and the PS here present. HRDC has adopted a sectoral human resource development planning approach where we conduct a situational analysis of the skills that are required by the labor market. And through this, we develop sector plans that informs our institutions in what programs they should be offering, so that we don't have the issue of graduate unemployment as it is the case now. The first thing that we should do is paradigm shift, change of mindset amongst our researchers in our universities. Perhaps as a result of the way incentives are structured in our universities is such that, or it's based on the number of publications they make. And by so doing, they disclose their scientific discoveries without protection. I want to indicate that a lot of countries are benefiting for free from our scientific discoveries because we put them in the public domain before we can protect them. So it is critical that with the right structures, with the right university-based technology transfer offices, who are the people who can guide the researchers and manage the research, because the job of the researcher is to research. There should be someone else to take over the baton, to manage, to negotiate on behalf of the researcher on the licensing agreement with the industry. So the way we structure our incentives should shift. The researcher should benefit from the royalties that are generated from their scientific discoveries. So we shouldn't rush to disclose through general publications. That should change. And another thing is, as universities, we must look out for third stream income. We have international and regional research and innovation funding agencies from which we can tap for third stream income. HRDC had an initiative of a grant project where it was giving out 50,000 pula it is not enough for this kind of research, as was said this morning by the guest speaker, who was requesting for at least 2% of GDP funding for research and innovation. Another thing that I think should be done is, from the onset, our researchers should engage the industry, not the other way around, where you conduct research first and then try to engage the industry. So by engaging them from the onset, already they will have buy-in in the research, just like the Demola platform. Earlier on, I talked about the need for expertise. Right now, we don't have people who take over the research from the researcher to move it to the point of commercialization.
Yes, sir. My timekeeper keeps doing this. I think that's a universal signal for us to step off stage. But one thing that I would have loved all of us to maybe address is there are so many institutions here which consume solutions, yet there is no channel for consuming these solutions outside the existing procurement system. So let's have that just in mind about, for many years we are consuming solutions from other people and not building our own capacity to solve these problems. At some point we need to realize we are empowering others to get better at supplying us with solutions. So the whole idea of maybe bringing this up is to say ecosystem innovation, just in one line. How important is that?
It's important that we have a fully functional national innovation ecosystem.
I think we cannot emphasize that enough.
I think what maybe we should also advocate for is to have the macroeconomic policies which are both inward and outward for indigenous manufacturing of such solutions. Import substitution, so that local industry also grows, and also incentives for the industry, because it's competing with the talent that is being developed. Already established industries, they need to be given incentives to work hand in hand with the indigenous manufacturers. Thank you.
And, I think just very quickly, I think we spoke of the marketplace. So a place where ideas can be sold and ideas can be bought. And that will complete the ecosystem. The greatest place where all the investment in the world goes is probably Silicon Valley. That has so much investment going there. I think that the challenge here for us in Botswana is to create our mini Silicon Valley. Is for Professor Totolo to say, I am opening BIUST to be a brooding ground where ideas are sold and people can come to buy ideas. And that is a start, and I think that's the challenge for us. And people shouldn't take it personally, because that it's business at the end of the day. The second thing is, if you've got a brilliant idea, please, and you haven't done anything, and you're looking for funding, and you only have an idea, don't come to a bank. You are wasting your time. The default answer is no. So very exceptionally will we finance startups. If you're a startup, you have never traded, you have never done anything, there are other places you can go to find funding. One of them is what we call an angel investor. You go find Bill Gates, he thinks the cell phone is a very great thing to reach people in the remote areas. He believes in your idea, he gives you money, and you go pre-feasibility. Once you've gone after feasibility, you can then look for an equity partner. You're still not ready to come to a bank because you haven't traded. And it's harsh, it is not nice, it is the reality of things. You will only come to a bank when you have demonstrated that you've got something that is bankable, that is tradable. So banks do not finance startups. It is angel investors, it is equity partners that finance And unfortunately, we only come in much later. That is the sad reality of life.
Can we give a round of applause to our panelists? Unfortunately, we won't be able to field questions, but I think they have made an impression, and they all have protection that I would like also to request from Kosi and the minister there, Baholo. Let me go about the protection. Thank you very much.
Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you to our moderator and the panel for that insightful and interesting discussion that we had around STEM. I guess the facts have been really laid bare for us. The uptake of funding through LEA by STEM-oriented industries is quite low. So that is a bit of a challenge that our researchers as well as entrepreneurs have been tasked with to ensure that we improve that as well. The challenges around the grassroots uptake of math and sciences has been laid bare, and I'm quite happy that the minister has indicated that from next year we should begin to see some changes. And just to put this in a proper context, from the around 30,000 students who sit for the BGCSE exams, just under 2,000 would be having grades that are good enough for math and science-based degrees. So it just shows you the challenge that we have to ensure that the discussions that we had this morning, and as well as the exhibitions that we'll be seeing throughout the week, we take them to heart and make it as a challenge for all the respective stakeholders who are here. Now that the program has been set, can I call upon the Deputy Vice Chancellor, distinguished Professor Signa, to give us our vote of thanks. And there will be a few announcements that I wish to make around your refreshments following his speech. Thank you.
Dumela Mareso. Morning. It's still the morning. We have 10 more minutes before the afternoon. It has been very exciting, isn't it? Yeah. But before I go on, let me say, in the interest of time, that all protocol is observed. So far, this meeting is extremely exciting. We had very good speakers who talked about the importance of STEM, what it can do for the country. I'd like to take the panelists in particular, who were very vocal and full of ideas about the importance of STEM and how we're going to move forward. Let me say that these two events, STEM Festival and the second Symposium on Research and Innovation, represent really a good cross-section of what BIUST is all about. BIUST is committed to be engaged with the local community, with the country at large, with industry, and with the international community. These two events are a good example and a proof that we really live up to our potential, and we will in the coming days and years. STEM Festival is meant to essentially to inflame young minds, excite them, to make STEM sexy, as one of the speakers so clearly spelled out. It's the wave of the future. Without the STEM, we cannot pull this country to the next level. The STEM Festival is not by itself. BIUST does a number of other things, a number of initiatives that really put BIUST on the map in the country at large, to show to the population, to make them understand what STEM is all about, what it can do for the country, what it can do for their standard of living. And that's the crux of the matter, isn't it? Jobs and the standard of living. The end product is represented to some extent by the symposium, because you inflame young minds, attract them to BIUST, or for that matter to STEM education. Then they produce a product. Part of the product is represented by the symposium. That's what we do. That's the contribution to the industry, to the economy, to some extent. What is the real issue here if we want to move the country to the next level? What is the real issue? The real issue is to reverse the employment trends. Government at this stage is the major employer in Botswana. Anybody who has a higher education thinks about getting employment, be an employee, not an employer. The way to reverse the whole equation, to make it topside down, is really to give the graduates the idea, the excitement that they should be employers rather than employees. When the equation is reversed, in other words, the government becomes not the majority employer, but the minority employer, then the economy is going to be on sound grounds. In the States, the government employs about 10 to 15% of the total employees, of the total workforce. I believe in Botswana it's more than 60%. And that's the problem. Now, BIUST is committed in doing its part in reversing this equation. Through STEM education, through contributing to industry, to economy, to produce graduates who are entrepreneurs, not employees. I am very proud to say that in BIUST we have a culture of graduating entrepreneurs. Our students are mandated to take courses in entrepreneurship, in economy. About 15% of the curriculum they take are in those areas. And I am very hopeful that in the very near future, we're going to be able to see a lot of entrepreneurs across the landscape of Botswana, graduates of BIUST. I'd like to thank all the speakers, including the panelists, who were extremely committed, and they put forth very eloquently the way forward. The rest of the day also is going to be very exciting. It will be a continuation of what we experienced today. So thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody. Thank you to all the speakers, to the panelists, to all the contributors to the symposium, to the young minds exhibiting in the STEM Festival. My gratitude. Thank you to all. Have a great day.
Thank you, DVC. The next item on our program is the tour of the exhibition. From the tour of the exhibitions, we will be led to our respective refreshment areas by the ushers. The VVIPs and VIPs will be led to the tour by Mr. Kopano, who is standing. They can raise your hand, sir. The VVIPs, VIPs, as well as the guests, you'll be taken to the tour, and then from the tour, you'll be led to your respective feeding area. The presenters of the symposium, following the tour of the exhibitions, you will have your refreshments at the mogul upstairs, the mogul cafeteria. The ushers will take you there. Pre-tertiary learners, you will have your refreshments, that is after the tour of the exhibitions, at the mogul cafeteria downstairs. And the Palapye community, as well as members of the media, you will have your refreshments just outside the multipurpose hall, which is hosting our exhibitions.